in cosmic education, there are 5 great stories. The great stories are a way to introduce and lay a foundation for the rest of elementary education. Children hear these stories at the beginning of every year from 1st grade to 6th grade. The first story is about the creation of the universe, and it covers from the Big Bang to the consolidation of particles together, and eventually to the Earth spinning off from the sun. So it relates our experience of being here on the planet to the Big Bang. The next story is called the Timeline of Life. The Timeline of Life starts with the first, she calls it a little blob of jelly, the first single cell life. And it takes the children from there into the age of single-celled organisms, past that into the first multi-celled organisms, when creatures were living only at the bottom of the sea, their migration upward onto land, and eventually it ends with the introduction of humans. The next story picks up from there. The story of the coming of human beings talks about a human's unique endowments. We have these hands that can grasp, but more importantly, a mind that can think. But most importantly, we have a heart that can love people, not just our family and our friends, but people we've never met before. And that compassion is unique to humankind. Dr. Montessori recognized that and emphasized that to the children. Then the next 2 stories really go together. The first is the story of language, and the second is the story of mathematics. In the story of language, we talk about the development of the first language. We talk about where a need for a language came from for human beings. And we also talk about the development of the alphabet. In the beginning, human beings would just draw pictures to represent the concepts they wanted to show. If they saw an animal, they would literally draw the animal to share its meaning. Eventually, we would draw pictograms, which are simple pictures. The Egyptians created a vast system of pictograms, and they even started to represent concepts that you can't draw by drawing pictures. For instance, they could draw a bird and mean flight or speed. You can see here we have a sentence in Egyptian. But where things really took off was with the Phoenicians. The Phoenicians took their symbols to make letter sounds, just like our letter sounds today. The 5th great story is the story of our numbers. We begin the story very similarly to the story of our language. We established that humans needed to count things from the very beginning, not unlike how we need to count things today. Then we explore how different civilizations created different numbering systems. We explore the similarities, especially with the number 1, which looks very similar today as it did to the ancient Romans or the ancient Egyptians. After that exploration, we discuss how valuable it is that today we have the number 0. In ancient Egypt, you had huge numbers. And in Roman numerals, if you ever look at the bottom of a building, you can see how writing a date can take up an entire line. But with the number 0, we can keep our numbers compact and easy to compute with. As with all the great stories involving humans, we end by thanking those people who will never know, in a time that we don't know about, who invented our numbers. So storytelling is incredibly important to cosmic education because I can't take the children to the edge of space, and I can't take them back in time to meet the Romans and their gods. But I can use that quality of imagination that all elementary children have. And I can activate that through storytelling. And that's really part of the guide's job. In fact, Dr. Montessori and her son Mario thought of the elementary guide not as a guide, as they called the primary teachers. They thought of us as storytellers of the truth. But that's a bit cumbersome to say.